It was a day that began with excitement and anticipation, a day that promised unity and spirited debate, but by the time the sun set, it would be remembered for tragedy and loss, forever etched in the memories of those who were there. At Utah Valley University, thousands of students, faculty, and community members gathered on the sprawling campus lawns. They came to hear Charlie Kirk, a prominent and often controversial conservative voice, speak about the future of America, free speech, and the power of civic engagement. The atmosphere was electric. Laughter, music, and the hum of conversation filled the air. The sun was shining and the crowd was lively, united by curiosity and the promise of a memorable event. But in a single, heart-stopping moment, everything changed. A sharp, unmistakable sound rang out, slicing through the celebration and plunging the gathering into chaos. In an instant, what had been a peaceful political event was transformed into a crime scene. Panic swept through the crowd as people scrambled for safety, unsure of what had just happened or where to turn. Charlie Kirk had been struck by a bullet, fired from a distant rooftop with chilling precision. The shot was deliberate, calculated, and devastating, leaving Kirk gravely wounded and the crowd in shock. Within minutes, the news spread like wildfire. Phones buzzed with frantic messages, social media erupted with confusion and fear, and soon the entire nation was gripped by the unfolding tragedy. The sense of safety and normalcy was shattered, replaced by disbelief and sorrow. A voice that had come to spark conversation and challenge ideas was silenced, not by debate or dissent, but by an act of violence that stunned everyone present. This was more than a crime. It was a direct attack on the principles of free expression and the right to gather peacefully. The event, meant to celebrate open dialogue, was now a symbol of vulnerability and the fragility of public discourse. As the community mourned, vigils were held and candles lit in memory of what was lost. Law enforcement faced the daunting task of finding a killer who seemed to vanish without a trace, leaving behind only questions and heartbreak. The story dominated headlines across the country, uniting people in grief, outrage, and a renewed call for answers. The tragedy sparked debates about security, free speech, and the risks faced by public figures. As the sun set over Utah Valley University, police lights flashed in the growing darkness. Investigators worked tirelessly into the night, determined to uncover the truth. The hunt for answers had only just begun, and a community waited, hoping for justice and healing in the days to come. In the hours after the shooting, law enforcement launched an intensive manhunt. Investigators scoured the rooftop for evidence and pored over surveillance footage. A breakthrough came. Security cameras captured a young man in a black t-shirt with an eagle and American flag, wearing a cap and sunglasses. Video showed him fleeing the scene, disappearing into nearby woods. The search shifted. Now they had a face, if not a name. Police distributed the images to every officer in the region. The area was searched with canine units, but the suspect had vanished. Every hour increased the risk he'd escape for good. Detectives chased every lead, knowing the grainy images were their best hope. The next step? Turn those images into a name, with help from the public. With no arrest in sight and the investigation stalling, officials made a bold decision. They turned to the public for help, hoping that the collective eyes and ears of thousands might succeed where law enforcement had so far failed. The case had gripped the nation, and now everyone was being asked to play a part. At a packed news conference, authorities released the suspect's images to the world. They displayed his photo on posters and screens, urging, "Do you know this man?" The plea was clear and urgent. Any detail, no matter how small, could be the missing piece. The response was immediate and overwhelming. News outlets ran the story around the clock, and social media exploded with shares and speculation. The suspect's face became one of the most recognized in the country overnight. The FBI's tip lines lit up, and within days, they had received over 7,000 tips from concerned citizens, each hoping to help crack the case. But with this flood of information came new challenges. Detectives found themselves buried under a mountain of leads, voicemails, and emails. Every message had to be checked, every claim investigated, no matter how far-fetched it seemed. Investigators worked around the clock, sifting through stacks of files and following up on every possible clue. Yet, most leads fizzled out, ending in frustrating dead ends. The sheer volume of information threatened to overwhelm even the most seasoned detectives. Despite the public's engagement, the suspect remained a ghost. His face was everywhere, from city billboards to living room televisions, but his name and whereabouts remained a mystery. the man in the eagle shirt seemed to vanish into thin air, leaving investigators and the public alike grasping for answers. The investigation hit wall after wall. Each promising lead dissolved into disappointment, and frustration grew among the teams working tirelessly to solve the case. The sense of urgency was palpable, but so was the sense of helplessness. Across the country, anxiety mounted. News headlines screamed updates about the ongoing manhunt, and people everywhere checked their phones for the latest developments. The nation was on high alert, united in suspense and concern, but the man in the eagle shirt was still out there, eluding capture. Yet, as the search widened, the break in the case wouldn't come from a stranger's tip or a random sighting. Instead, it would come from someone much closer to home, someone who recognized the face not from the news, but from their own life. Suddenly, a new piece of information surfaced, catching investigators off guard. A connection was made that no one had anticipated, and the search for the suspect's identity was about to take a dramatic and unexpected turn. Sometimes the answer is closer than anyone expects. In the midst of a nationwide search, the truth can be hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right person to come forward. And this time, it would come from within a family, proving that even in the largest investigations, the most crucial clues can come from the people who know us best. Far from the chaos, a father watched the news, staring at the suspect's image. Something about the man in the photo was hauntingly familiar. The build, the posture, the face beneath the cap, it all pointed to one person, his own son, Tyler Robinson. The realization was slow and sickening. Could his son really be the fugitive at the center of a national manhunt? The father wrestled with denial, but the evidence was too strong. He faced an agonizing choice: protect his son or do what was right. The weight of responsibility was crushing. He knew he couldn't stay silent. With a heavy heart, he prepared to confront his son. The moment would change their lives forever. The father waited for Tyler, anxiety thick in the air. When Tyler arrived, his father simply asked, "Is this you?" showing him the photo. Tyler's reaction, fear then collapse, was all the confirmation needed. In a broken voice, Tyler confessed he was the shooter. The family's world shattered. The father pleaded with Tyler to turn himself in, explaining it was the only way forward. Tyler, gripped by panic, refused, saying he'd rather die than surrender. The threat of suicide made the situation even more dire. The father realized he couldn't handle this alone. He needed help, and fast. The family's nightmare had reached a critical point. The next move would determine whether tragedy deepened or hope remained. The search for a peaceful solution began. In a moment of deep desperation, the father turned to someone he trusted more than almost anyone else, a youth pastor who had long been a steady presence in the community. The father's voice trembled as he explained the situation, his hope resting on the pastor's wisdom and compassion. The pastor, respected by both the family and local law enforcement, immediately recognized the gravity of the situation. He agreed to help, knowing that his unique position could bridge the gap between a frightened family and the authorities searching for answers. Sitting down with Tyler in the quiet of his office, the pastor offered not just advice, but a safe space. He listened intently, letting Tyler speak without fear of condemnation. His words were gentle, focused on understanding rather than blame, and he reassured Tyler that he was not alone. The pastor's mission was clear: to prevent another tragedy and to guide Tyler toward making the right choice. He encouraged Tyler to consider surrender, not as a defeat, but as a step toward healing and accountability, for himself and for those who cared about him. Meanwhile, the family gathered in their kitchen, weighing every option. They made a strategic decision: not to call the local police, who might respond with force, but to reach out to a distant sheriff's office. Their hope was to avoid a dangerous confrontation and give Tyler a chance to surrender peacefully. On the phone, the family spoke with urgency and emotion. They explained Tyler's fragile mental state, their fears for his safety, and their deep desire for a peaceful resolution. Every word was chosen carefully, hoping the authorities would understand the delicate nature of the situation. The sheriff's office listened closely, taking detailed notes and promising to handle the tip with care. The information was relayed to the main investigators, who now had a crucial lead, one that could change the course of the case. The family's careful, thoughtful approach set the stage for what they hoped would be a safe surrender. Their actions reflected both love and courage, as they balanced their concern for Tyler with the need to protect the community. The pastor's steady presence and the family's bravery became the keys to ending the crisis. Together, they formed a support system strong enough to guide Tyler through his darkest hour. As the authorities prepared to act on this vital new lead, hope began to replace fear. The next steps would be critical, not just for Tyler, but for everyone whose lives had been touched by the unfolding events. For over 30 hours, investigators chased thousands of tips, none leading anywhere. Then, a single call from the Washington County Sheriff's Office changed everything. This tip was different. It named Tyler Robinson and gave his location with the family's cooperation. Suddenly, the manhunt had a name, a face, and a destination, all resources focused on Tyler. The wild chases ended, the investigation had clarity. The family's courage provided what thousands of strangers could not, the key to the case. It was a powerful reminder that quality matters more than quantity in investigations. The tip allowed authorities to move swiftly and safely. The end of the manhunt was now in sight. Justice was finally within reach. With the family's information, law enforcement shifted to a targeted, careful operation. Thanks to the pastor's mediation, Tyler's surrender was coordinated to avoid violence. There was no dramatic raid, just quiet professionalism. 2 hours after the public plea, Tyler Robinson was in custody. The 30-hour manhunt ended not with force, but with communication and trust. Utah's governor announced the arrest, crediting the family's critical role. Relief swept through the community and the nation. The ghost haunting the headlines now had a name and was behind bars. The case closed with cooperation, not confrontation. The family's painful decision had prevented further tragedy. The capture of Charlie Kirk's killer is a lesson in community and family responsibility. Despite advanced technology, it was a father's conscience that solved the case. Law enforcement depends on the trust and courage of ordinary people. The Robinson family's decision was an act of civic duty, prioritizing justice over personal pain. Their actions, supported by a compassionate pastor, built a bridge to a peaceful resolution. This case shows that public safety is a shared responsibility. When families and communities work with police, justice is possible. The manhunt ended in a living room with a father's choice. The legacy ordinary people, faced with the unthinkable, chose to do what was right.